Hello, everybody. Andrea Twarowski here with Dentalelle Tutoring. Now, the funny thing is, this is literally video number 3 that I have tried to do for you the past, hour, because I would like to talk to you guys about tooth surfaces today. But the first time I tried to do a video, it actually stopped, within about 3 minutes. So I thought, okay, that was weird. So, sorry, allergies here. So I did it again, and I was talking for about 20 minutes about, tooth surfaces, and then it cut out. And I thought, okay, my internet's not working, something's being odd, something's being weird. So I took the dogs outside, and sure enough, there was a Rogers van parked like 2 houses down. They were working on cords, wires. I don't know what they were doing, but clearly they messed something up. So I didn't have internet for about an hour, which is not so bad. But when you're in the middle of doing a video, and I told everybody that I would have the video up within 15 minutes. So I apologize if you have been waiting for that. But so that's my little story for the morning. So this is video number 3. I'm going to try to not forget anything that I said in the first couple ones. So here we go. So let me just share my screen here now, because we will be talking about tooth surfaces, which is awesome, because somebody had commented on a Facebook post, or no, sorry, not a Facebook post. Somebody had commented on a YouTube video that I did about a couple weeks ago, asking if I could teach about the tooth surfaces, which is perfect, because that's not something that I've ever thought to teach. I think just because you learn it maybe the first day of school, either dental assisting or dental hygiene, but it's a good thing to know, because if you've signed up, let's say, for the program, and you're taking the program in a month or 2, you're probably thinking that you would like to look into things a little so that your first week isn't as hectic. Because if you haven't started your program yet, you will be very overwhelmed at least the first week. Even the first day, you will be very overwhelmed. I'm just warning you, because you will be learning everything, and especially if you haven't taken dental of any kind before, it will be so overwhelming to you. It's not hard stuff. It's just, the tooth surfaces, for example, they'll teach you for 10 minutes, and then you have to learn the rest of it on your own time, because they have other things that they have to teach you. You'll probably have your first test about a week later. So this is actually perfect, because I would like to teach you guys about the tooth surfaces. So when you do start your program, you'll be like, okay, I pretty much know them now. Thanks for teaching me. I can answer all of the questions. Awesome. So this will help so much. Now, I apologize, because I've been tutoring and teaching now for about 13 years, and I've never actually taught this. So I have to think about teaching it to people who have no idea what tooth surfaces are. So if I miss something, if I don't make sense, please let me know, and then I would be happy to help. So let's get started here. I'm actually pretty excited, because I've never taught this before. So let's get started with tooth surfaces. I'm just trying to scroll down here. Okay, so before we talk about the actual teeth in itself, so before we talk about mesial, distal, which is probably sounding confusing to you if you haven't looked into it yet, let's talk about your lingual surfaces, okay? So those are the surfaces of the teeth in the mouth that are on the inside. So when I was a student, the easiest way for me to think about it was your tongue is on the inside. So what tooth surfaces are closest to the tongue? So let's say your patient has a cavity on the 1/6 lingual. You have to think, okay, the 1/6 lingual is on the first molar on the inside of the tooth, not the top of the tooth, like on the occlusal surface, which is on the top, on your chewing surface. It's not on the buccal surface, because that's closest to the cheek, but it's on the lingual surface, so on the inside. So I'll show you inside my mouth. Sorry for my fingers here. But on your lingual side is the inside. So all the way around the lingual. So I'll show you with my pointer here. Now, can I highlight that, I wonder? I'm not using PowerPoint, I'm using PDF, so I'm not as familiar with it. So I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to highlight that, but it's on the inside here. I'm not sure if you can even see my mouse because the screen is probably small, but the inside. Now the opposite of lingual is on the outside, so the buccal surfaces, so closest to your cheek. So those, the outside, so think here, okay? So think here. So if you're talking about, say the patient has a cavity on the 1/6 on the buccal side, that's the outside. So not the inside, but the outside. Okay, so does that make sense so far? And another thing that I should say, so if you're talking about the outside, when you're talking about the anteriors, so let's say, in fact, I do have it on the picture here, from your 3 to the 3. So I'm talking about Canadian at the moment. I think I have a tooth numbering system that shows Canadian and American too, okay? So actually, no, this isn't really showing Canadian as well. This is just showing the American one. But why is it not showing tooth number 1? Okay, because the wisdom teeth aren't on here. So, oh, let's see, what is it doing here? So you know what, this isn't even the best picture either. I think I'm gonna get a different one. But what I thought this image was showing was the Canadian numbers and the American numbers, because depending on where you're watching this, you may be confused with the tooth numbers because I'm in Canada, so I talk about Canadian numbers. But the numbers isn't really the big thing here now. The main thing is just sort of learning the tooth surfaces. But what I wanted to say was when you're talking about the tooth surfaces, if you're looking at the outside, now specific to the anterior teeth, so from the canine to the canine, so that should be the same no matter if you're Canadian or American, but from the canine to the canine, so the 3 to the 3, we also like to call it. If you're referring to the surfaces on the outside, you do not say buccal, but you say labial. Either labial or facial. But, oh, and it actually says here too. So labial is talking about the tooth surfaces on the outside for the anterior teeth. But buccal is for the other teeth on the outside, so your premolars and molars. So does that make sense? So it's not wrong to say your patient has a cavity on the buccal of the 1/3. That's not wrong because it is saying that it's on the outside, but it's more correct since it's on the anterior teeth or tooth to say they have a cavity on the 1/3 labial. So is that okay for everybody so far? And sorry, my lips are just a little bit dry. I'm just gonna apply some lip gloss here. I've been doing a lot of talking today, so sorry guys. There we go. So does that make sense? So it's not wrong to say for the anterior teeth, if you're talking about that the outside surface is on the buccal, but it's more correct to say labial for the anterior teeth. For the lingual though, you can say that for anything. If the patient has a cavity on the 1/3, on the inside of the 1/3, that is lingual no matter what because it's on the inside. Now, if you're talking about the top of the teeth for premolars and molars, that is your occlusal surface. So also referred to as your chewing surface. That's the occlusal, so on top. So these are the occlusals here. Now, again, once you get to the anterior teeth, if you're talking about the chewing surfaces, those are actually called the incisal surfaces. It's not wrong to say the occlusal surfaces from the canine to the canine if you're referring to the chewing surfaces, but it's not the most correct. You want to say your incisal surfaces. So does that make sense? So even if you look at the teeth, which I wish I had a diagram, this is a diagram here. It's just I wish I had something else for you. But from the 3 to the 3 on the inside, sorry, not the inside, I should say your chewing surface. is your labial surfaces. But as soon as you go to the premolar back to the molars, talking about the chewing surfaces, that is now called your occlusal surfaces. So feel free to stop the video if you want to take notes, because even as I'm teaching it, it sounds like a lot to me, especially if you haven't heard it before. So please feel free to stop the video if you would like to take some notes, and please let me know if any questions, because I don't want to confuse anybody. So if you guys are okay with that, let me just see what my next slide is. Yeah. This is actually a good one too. So see the top of this tooth? This is a molar because it's a larger tooth. So this is your occlusal surface. If the top of the tooth happened to be the 1-2, so that's an anterior, it's not referred to as your occlusal surface, but it's referred to as the incisal. So is that okay for everybody? Now, let's talk about the difference between mesial surfaces. You'll have distal surfaces also. So we talked about the lingual, we talked about the labial, but what about the mesial and the distal? So how I remembered it when I was in school was I would always think about your midline. So right down here in the middle. So your tooth 1, 1, and 2, 1, in between those is your midline. Now, in American numbers, that would be, since I'm not American, I have to double check, your tooth number 8 and 9. Okay, so right in between that is your midline. Okay, and then same thing for the bottom, right in between your teeth 3, 1, and 4, 1, that is the midline. For the Americans with me today, that would be in between your tooth 25 and 24, so right down the middle. So that is your midline. So anytime you are thinking about the mesial surface or your distal surface, think where it is in relation to the midline. So if you're looking at a tooth, think which surface is closest to the midline. That would be your mesial. And then look at the same tooth, and that, you know, surface of the tooth that is behind, or I should say furthest from the midline, is your distal surface. So does that make sense? So I wish I had a marker to show you here, but let's say we're looking at the tooth 1, 6. So your first molar on the upper right-hand side. Your mesial surface is right here. Your distal surface is behind that, so right here. Another way to think about it is if you're looking at the tooth that's in front of that one, what surface is touching that tooth? It will be the mesial surface. That's another way to look at it, but that may also confuse some of you. So if that confuses you, then don't listen to me, but I'll say it one more time. So another way to think about it is if you're looking at the tooth in front of that tooth, think what part of the tooth is touching that tooth in front. That's the mesial surface closest to the midline. So I hope that helps a little bit. This one helps too, but in this image you have to know sort of which tooth is in front and which tooth is behind. You would not be able to tell. But I can tell that this is the tooth that's supposed to be in front. So that's the mesial surface. The surface that's behind is your distal surface. So is that okay so far? And this might help too. So I'll show you guys that in a second, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands. So I will show you guys, and I really wish I had a marker here. But so all of the mesial, think closest to the midline. So this arch is on the top. So this is the mesial surface, this is the mesial surface, this is the mesial surface, and this is. But if you're talking about the distal, that's the opposite. So this is the distal of the 1, 1, and this is the mesial here. So mesial, this is the distal. Of the 2-1, of the 1-2, this is the mesial of the 1-2, and this is the distal. Of the 1-3, this is the mesial, and this is the distal. So does that make sense? If not, stop the video and take some notes. Listen to the first part, and you may have to hear it a couple times. That's normal. But if you still need help, let me know. Because remember, when you take this in your program, you will learn it likely the first day within like 10 minutes. And then your teacher will say, okay, we have to move on now to something else. So if you don't understand this, you will have to learn this on your own time. So that means you will be exhausted after your first day. You'll have to go home and learn this. But you will be so exhausted, so overwhelmed, it will be a lot harder to learn, and it will take you longer because you're just so exhausted at that point. So this is helping. Even if you don't see it helping you yet, it is helping. So just please, just make sure to try not to think, okay, this is so hard, I don't understand it. Don't even think that. It takes time. But I'll explain it a little bit more towards the end too. I wanted to quickly go over here. So this is another picture also showing the top arch. And I know that because the top front teeth are larger, and it's obviously normal to have these teeth be larger, right? So that always just helps me. Let's see. So we talked about everything so far. So I'll show you guys one more time, but on the opposite side. So let's say now we're looking at the 2-1. So in American, the 2-1 is your number 9. Okay, so I'll be talking about your number 9, 10, and 11. In Canadian, that is your numbers 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3. So let's talk about that for a second. So your midline is right here, and right here. Your mesial, I think I said midline, I'm sorry. Your mesial surfaces are here, here, and here. Your distal surfaces are opposite. So here is the distal, here's a distal, and here is the distal. Does that make sense? Your lingual is everything, all of the surfaces on the inside. Your buccal are all of the surfaces on the outside. Specifically, if you're talking about a surface on the outside of the anteriors, that is known as either your facial or your labial surfaces from the canines on the outside. What else did I want to say? Your anterior teeth are from the canines, so 3 to the 3. Your posterior teeth are all of your premolars and molars, because sometimes in school they will talk to you about your anterior teeth as an example. So you have to know which teeth are part of the anterior teeth. So from the 3 to the 3. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. The rest, your premolars to the molars, are your posterior teeth. This is a good image showing a few other things, but I don't want to go too fast, too much. So if I do, please let me know. But in school, they may also talk to you about a quadrant. So that is a certain half of the mouth. So quad 1 is your upper right-hand side over here. Quad 2 starts from over here to over here. Quad 3 and then quad 4. Now, I'm doing this in the video, so I'm probably doing it backwards here. So let's think your upper right-hand side up to the first anterior is quad 1, and then moving over to your upper left-hand side is quad 2. Move down to your lower left-hand side, that is quad 3. Quad 4, move over to the lower right-hand side. Does that make sense? I wish I had better pictures to show you guys that actually, because I am only showing you sort of one arch in the mouth. But here's a good example. So quad 1 is all of this here. Quad 2 is this side. So another thing, another good thing to make note of is your midline separates all of your quads. Okay, so does that make sense? So the midline separates all of your quads. So quads 1 and 4 are on your right hand side, and then your midline is in the middle, and then over on the other side of the midline you have quads 2 and 3, which is your left hand side. It may sound confusing now, but trust me, you will get the hang of it. Okay, so again, I don't want to go too much into it to confuse people. This is just another image that I had added. To me, this image looks very confusing, but it depends on how you learn. So I put this in here also to show you sort of the upper right-hand sides, your upper left-hand sides, your lower left, lower right, and so on. So this is just another way of kind of looking at everything. So, okay, so I hope that helped. Please let me know though if I need to clear up something, because this video is mainly for students who are just starting the program now, either dental hygiene or dental assisting, or you're taking the program in a month or two saying, okay, I would like to learn a little bit now because I have time, so that the first day or the first week of school isn't as overwhelming. So this is perfect. I'll probably post actually some more videos tomorrow about some pretty easy stuff too, but it's not easy if you haven't taken the program before, but it will be a lot easier for you to learn it now, and then your first week of the program, you'll say, okay, well, she already taught me that, so I'm actually ahead of the game. You will love it. It will be so much easier. So let me stop sharing my screen here. So I do hope that helped, and I hope you could see okay. If you need anything, please let me know, and if there's anything else you would like to learn, let me know, because I am so happy to help. And my Dentalelle student program did open up again. So if you're thinking about having tutoring all throughout your program, let me know, because that's what I help with. I upload a video in the program every week, pretty much. We talk over live chat with the group twice a month about anything you want to talk about. I will help you with, you know, tests, exams, assignments, whatever you need, because this is what I do. Full time, you guys, this is what I do. I love it. So let me know if you would like inside the program. It is awesome, and you have a full 4-year access, because I know depending on where you live, your program's either 1 year for dental assisting. Some dental assistants have 2 years, or for hygiene, some have 2 years, some have 3, and some have 4. So 4 years full access. So you'll be talking to me a lot. 4 years, I will help you every step of the way to make your life a lot less stressful. Trust me, because being in school is hard. It is so worth it, but it's stressful. So I will see you guys in the next video.